everybody. Pete Meyer, Motor Age Magazine. Welcome to another Shop Talk episode. My special guest today is someone you probably know. He's been a long-time contributor to the pages of Motor Age, and he's also the author of a recent book called Tuning into Safety. This is actually a topic that, we don't really talk about too much, and we want to make sure that we bring that topic to the forefront on today's show. So let me bring forth our guest today, again, someone you guys know and respect for some time, Tony Martin. Tony, how are you?
Yeah, good morning, Pete. And how's things?
Good. I appreciate you taking the time to come out and hang out with us today. Of course, you have a lot of background in automotive, mainly on the heavy-duty side. You were a college instructor, long-time contributor to Motor Age, and now you work for a large, if I'm correct, a large mining company up there in Alaska. Of course, those of you who don't know Tony, he's way up there in the cold states. But now you have a focus on safety. Let's talk a little bit first about what brought that on. What brought the whole idea to get out and do something about safety?
Well, that's a great question, and that's really the heart of what inspired me to write the book. Was just I left post-secondary education in 2013 and decided to go back to private industry. And a job that came my way at the time, a great opportunity, was to become the mobile equipment maintenance trainer at a large gold mine in Fairbanks, Alaska. And so I've been there since that time in that role. What became clear to me shortly after I got there was that there had been a lot of change in the workplace over the years that I'd been away. I was teaching for about 17 years, and during that time, there had been some major changes going on in the workplace culture. And I guess the bad part is that that was all going on, and I was oblivious to it while I was in post-secondary education. So it struck me that to some extent, I had not been preparing my students adequately for what they were going to face when they, got to the workplace.
I want to kind of stress up. I'm sorry to interrupt you there, Tom. I want to kind of stress something there to clarify for those who are watching. Again, like you said, you're now working for a large gold mine operation up in Fairbanks, and you were in that post-secondary training environment to train the technicians that were going to be working in places like this, right?
Right.
Right. So,
yeah.
and I know that you, as well as every other instructor I've ever met, preaches safety in the classroom, in their lab assignments and the work assignments. But then you just mentioned, or you just said that you didn't feel that was enough when you actually saw what was going on in the workplace. Can you expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, and just like everybody else, I was, checking the boxes, if you will. At the beginning of a course, you go through the safety orientation, and you give all the outline the hazards in the shop and the things, the rules and regulations and things, right? But the part that I didn't emphasize was the responsibility of the individual, and specifically the mindset of the individual. So, while I was giving them the rules of the road, if you will, and, follow these rules and things will generally go well, that wasn't necessarily serving them as well as it could have, because we have some serious failings in our thought process as human beings that don't help us make good safety decisions. And in my view, I think that now's the time to have the conversation about, okay, how is it that our thinking as humans is working against us in our efforts to stay safe in the workplace?
Okay, I'm trying to wrap my head around what you're explaining here. I know you've done a lot of research into this field when it caught your attention. And actually, when we were speaking yesterday, preparing for today's show, you made a comment about some of the statistics in your own workplace that really caught your eye, and I'm just see if I recap them correctly. You had so many days, and every company I guess does this. Traces their production, with lost time, and you weren't having people not showing up for work. You weren't having people that were out sick, but you had several instances where people were hurt on the job, right?
Actually, they weren't hurt. The truth, to clarify, last year we had an unreal safety performance record at the mine, like none other. In the 23 years that the mine has been in production, we've never had a better safety performance than what we had last year.
Okay.
But what I was saying was that we lost people from our department. Specifically, we didn't lose anybody for attendance troubles, not coming to work.
Sure,
we didn't lose anybody. We didn't lose anybody for drug violations. But in our department, we're 120 strong in our department. We lost 5 veteran technicians to safety violations.
Okay, so they were out of compliance with something that was safety related.
That is correct.
Okay.
And they had made, essentially, it boiled down to safety decisions that were made that were deemed to be, significant enough that they lost their jobs because of it.
Well, certainly I can only imagine in an operation like yours. We're talking about massive equipment, a lot of potential for harm, but really for those who are watching, no more so than they're facing in their own light duty automotive shop, right?
Yeah, you get hurt the same way. And yes, ours could be deemed as a reason, like relatively high risk operation. That is true.
Yeah.
And the equipment is big, and there's a million ways to get yourself hurt. Okay.
Right.
But I guess, again, getting back to the reason I wrote the book, I'd been at the mine for about a year, and it became clear to me that people weren't adjusting very well to what was being expected of them on the safety front.
Okay.
In fact, to some extent, a lot of people didn't even believe the company, take them seriously. You can't be serious. You really want us to do this. This is going to make us go broke. If I actually follow the rules, this is going to make us go broke, right?
Yeah.
And so everybody's kind of going, okay, well, that's what we say in the line out. This is the politically correct thing to say, but when it comes to actually doing it, if nobody's looking, hey,
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah.
you do what you can to get the job done, kind of thing. You see.
Yeah.
And so I guess the problem is that people didn't see the benefit to themselves for following those rules and for complying and for, actively participating in that process. There's, they just generally, people just didn't see the benefits of it, like what's in it for me, right? So some of the writing that I do includes the whole concept of, hey, what is the main goal here? What is it we're trying to achieve? And if you get hurt, okay, it's going to cost the company a buttload of money, okay? Basically, the reason that we're emphasizing it so heavily these days is just because of the expense, let's say it. But at the same time, what's it going to cost you? How are you going to be impacted? How is your family going to be impacted if you get hurt? So these are some things that I'm trying to raise some awareness of and provoke the conversation. Let's start thinking about this stuff, and then also start thinking about how our personal thought process actually works against us in meeting our own personal safety goals.
Yeah, and I gotta say for the audience here, I just want to read what's on the back cover of your book here. Here at Last is a book that addresses the real heart of workplace safety. Your attitude, your priorities, and not talking about us, but the individual. And I think I see where you're going with this. As a shop foreman or a shop owner or whatever the case might be, I might have a book that outlines, I'm going to put the safety chains up, I'm going to put the cones out, I'm going to make sure that the lift locks are, the vehicle's brought down to the lift locks and so forth. And I can tell you this is all part and parcel of what you have to do when you work at this shop. But like you say here, your employer cannot hold your hand. You're required to make your own safety decisions on a daily basis. And the book, Tuning into Safety, was written to help that individual make smart choices. You know, this is something that we've both preached for quite some time now. We've been in the business for quite a while. You know, some of the things the choices that we made early on are showing up now in the aches and groans and snap, crackle, pops in our bodies. But on the more serious side, you know, we read or know of individuals who have been severely hurt just because they didn't keep that foremost in mind. So is that one of the goals of the book, Tony? Is that to help people kind of get themselves tuned in to making those right decisions?
Yeah, it's thinking about this stuff before it happens, okay, and taking it seriously. You know, because for the most part, you know, people will be of the opinion that, yeah, the rules are written in blood, but not in my blood, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in other words, it's not going to happen to me, right? That's the other guy's problem, right? So, you know, my deal all along is saying, okay, there's rules out there, there's regulations. The company is serious about you not getting hurt because it could hurt the business in a bad way if you get hurt, right? But at the same time, the part that you need to be focusing on, that you need to be contemplating and considering all day long, every day, this decision that I'm about to make right now, how is that going to impact me? How is that going to impact my family, right? And the industry as a whole, for that matter. Okay,
right.
Because anytime you have an incident, a serious incident, well, there's bad press that comes out of that. And how does that impact? In other words, it's not about you. See what I mean?
And that's, I got to ask you this too. I mean, when we were all starting off, when we were all younger, you know, guys in their 20s are bulletproof, right? Do you see it more of a challenge, the younger the individual involved as opposed to the older, or is it across the board?
Well, I'm going to say that it's across the board. Naturally, you have the youngest individuals who haven't had the experience to understand what the impacts could be to them. Okay. But the veterans are probably more at risk than anybody.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason they're at risk is because they have done this shortcut 1,000 times. It's always come out on my side in the past. They let the guard down. They stop paying attention. They get to the point where that's standard operating practice.
Gotcha.
And then a variable changes, and that's where these guys get seriously hurt or killed. Yeah. And the mining industry is just the absolute classic illustration of that. Mm-hmm. Okay. The people who get killed typically in the mines are veterans. Okay. And a lot of times those veterans are within 5 and 6 years of retirement.
Wow.
So the whole notion of, oh yeah, been there, done that, this has never gone sideways on me before, it's time to get over that, because as a matter of fact, the more experience you got, probably the more dangerous you get.
Wow. Well, guys, you know, the book is Tuning Into Safety, you know, written by our friend and contributing editor at Motor Rage, Tony Martin. Tony, is this something I certainly would encourage every tech to pick up a copy and read? It's a great, written very well, very easy to read, very informative. It will open up your eyes as to what you want to think about when you go into the shop every day and open up your toolbox. But I say, too, it's probably a valuable tool for shop owners, maybe to incorporate in their own programs. Is that something that you can be of assistance with?
Yeah, you know, that's always the rub. You know, this is something that's, you know, a message that I'm trying to get out. How do you get people to read the book? Okay, I mean, you know, these days it seems like if, you know, I had a guy tell me one time, he says, hey, the problem with all this is people don't read anymore.
Yeah.
And you know where that comes from. I mean, it's because of, you know, we're fixed to our phones, and we're, you know, got a very short attention span, seems like shorter as time goes on, you know. So, but I think the most important part here is the inspiring discussion about this stuff, and actually, you know, wrestling with the concepts, because I think even just reading the book will have some impacts, but if you actually have a discussion, like a group discussion about the concepts that are being presented, I think people are going to be willing to tell their own stories. There's going to be a lot of empathy going on there when they, if somebody gets hurt, you read about in the paper all the time, other people getting hurt that you don't know, and it has pretty much, zero impact on you. Doesn't fizz on you. Okay.
Yeah.
But if it's somebody somebody you have some emotional bond with, that's a different story. And the stories that those people have are extremely powerful. Those are the ones that could potentially work to change you and your behavior, right? Which is really what this is about. We can say all day safety first, right? We can talk about that all day long. You hear it all day long.
Right.
Okay. But do you believe it? Does it change your behavior? And in many cases, it's a platitude. In many cases, it's an overused moral statement that we rattle on, and everybody hears it and nods their heads, but it doesn't necessarily impact the way that they behave.
Sure.
And that's the part that I think that's where the rubber meets the road right there.
So again, shop owners, the website is tuningintosafety.com. I know there's some resources there Tony has for you that can help you lead that kind of discussion in your business. And again, it impacts your bottom line, but for the individuals, it can impact a whole lot more than that. Tony, thanks so much for taking the time to talk to us today and share your thoughts. And I hope people will come out and read the book. It'll help keep them safe and healthy and lead them a no less pain-free retirement than what some of us are going to go through.
Yeah, and let's face it, we'll all prosper if people are making better safety decisions, like the whole nation will. And that sounds, that sounds a little bit melodramatic, right? But the reality is that the cost to society of bad safety decisions is just immense. And we're all going to prosper if people are able to, see more clearly, what is going to be the most expedient thing to do for, to take care of themselves and their family.
Awesome. Again, thanks a lot, Tony.
Yeah, thanks so much, Pete.